Welcome to Authentic Magnetism, the channel. We help coaches, course creators, and spiritual entrepreneurs find their authentic voice and magnetize soul-aligned clients. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and follow along for more. Now let's get on with the episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We have the distinct pleasure of having a long-term friend of mine, a long-term entrepreneur, and a brand photo specialist, Jenn. Now, just a little disclaimer, I dragged her out of retirement to do photos for me. She's no longer doing photos professionally, but she has at least 20 years of experience doing brand photos. But she has moved on to a slightly different field, still in the people-facing field though, which is therapy and child-centered therapy. So a little bit about Jenn's energetics. She is a 6'2" manifesting generator with emotional authority. She's got some pretty cool energy. One of my favorite things is Channel of the Beat. I think, Jenn, you're the reason I love Channel of the Beat, because you just exemplify this so well in the way that you kind of move through life. And I love that. So that being said, we have a little bit of a time crunch here. We definitely have a hard stop at the end, and we have two manifesting generators in the room who have a long-term relationship. We have to kind of stay a little bit on track. So, Jenn, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks. I'm excited.
So are we going to just dive right into this brand photo shoot stuff, or do you want to tell, actually, you know what, why don't we start here? Why don't you tell us a little bit about photos, how you came to be in photography, you know, your early days of the developing photos underneath the stairwell, and I remember that. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so in high school, I did film photography. Yep. I developed it underneath the stair closet in my parents'
very Harry Potter vibe.
Yeah, it was very, yeah. And so very prehistoric, pre-digital, fell in love with it. And at the end of my high school career, my school was transitioning to a digital photography lab, and my teacher gave me his darkroom. So that kind of like kicked me in the right direction. I had saved up a bunch of money to buy a car, and I spent it on a camera. And yeah. And
you had 3 older sisters, so you could get a ride.
Right. Who needs a car? So yeah, and then I went to school not for photography, but ended up in the photography industry anyways, because it was just a love of mine, and it incorporated my love for people and photography, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. So
amazing. So Jenn, we've done, I don't know how many shoots together. You've done all of my photos for everything. Probably at least 6 brand photo shoots. You've done my wedding photos. I think we even did a spicy boudoir shoot one time. That was a lot of fun. So we have a history of photos together. So we've just done a photo shoot. And after that, I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about preparing for a brand photo shoot, because I think when you came this time to do the photos, I didn't realize how unprepared I was. So we've created a bit of a list of preparation for photo shoots. And the first thing I had on my list is get a good bra, like possibly even a push-up bra. Even if it's you only use it this one time, it's worth it. You're paying hundreds of dollars for a photo shoot. Like you need a good bra. Like this is absolutely a tits up situation. So don't be caught hanging is all I can say. So Jenn, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say invest in a good bra anyways. You deserve it. Everyone should have a good bra, but definitely for a photo shoot, a good bra is great. Undergarments are important. Start at the bottom and work up. And so I would say compression garments are good for men. So kind of the opposite for men. If you've got a little extra chest tissue that you want to suppress, sometimes men love to invest in those like compression undergarment, like undershirt type thing to wear under their clothing. So if that's an insecurity, I'd say, compression garments for men or women. And yeah, definitely good sturdy undergarments that are going to give you a good base to build off of.
Lift and smooth out the lumps.
Yeah.
So, just a funny story. I lean in really hard to this comfort over any kind of restriction and compression. And in our last photo shoot, I wasn't prepared with a good bra. So this woman, like, this is like full service photography. She takes her bra off, she throws it at me and says, put this one on. So I don't think you can expect that out of every photographer, but it is a really important thing, and some that we can really overlook, especially if it's not part of your regular, we just forget about bras. We forget about undergarments until it's time and it's go time. And you're like, oh, well, is this little sports bra going to do the job? And usually the answer is no. So do you want to go next with the point?
Yeah, I guess building off that, you need to have a photographer that you're comfortable with, and that gets you and is comfortable with you and comfortable with themselves. Like, yeah, I was definitely comfortable throwing my bra at you. And so we got some good photos. But I think having a rapport and a baseline relationship with your photographer is really important, because if you have that, then they can capture the true essence of who you are, who your personality is, your shining points, your values, your morals, like all the good stuff about you, all that energy. They can capture it if they know who you are. They understand who you are. They understand who you're serving and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really important to have a good, authentic relationship with your photographer so that they can present you as you truly are and your best version of yourself, and they can capture all that great stuff about you. And even if that means, they throw you their undergarments to prop you up and make sure all your excellent attributes shine.
Your assets are on display.
Yeah. So I just think having that authentic relationship that's really a true connection with your photographer is important. And if you don't have that, find a photographer you do have it with, so that you can really be accurately represented in your images.
Even if it's just like that instant click, or you really connect with them on social, something like that, do your research. This is one of my other points, is do your research on that photographer's style, because style is so important. So I wanted to kind of use an example. There's a local photographer here that does a very moody, dark, artistic style. And I love her photos, but it's not my style. So Jenn, do you want to speak a little bit to style and match and fit, and what your photographer can do and what is probably not good to expect out of your photographer?
Yeah. So definitely find a photographer that you don't know why you like their photos, but you like their photos. What draws you in, you might not be able to articulate, but I really would encourage you to find somebody you're like, ooh, I love that. And I love that. And I love that. And maybe it's not the posing, maybe it's not how beautiful or aesthetic the person they captured is, but just something about it, whatever their vibe is, the mood, the warmth or the coolness or the moodiness is really important. But again, making sure it aligns with your brand. And hopefully if you are attracted to a certain vibe, it is going to align with your brand, because that would give us evidence that your brand is on point for you. Like if you're a bright, happy person and, then you're probably going to be attracted to the bright, happy stuff. If you're kind of like moody and mysterious, and then you're going to be drawn to the more like heavy shadows, dark kind of artistic stuff. But yeah, I think it's really important to know who you are and to know what you're attracted to in a photographer's style, and then just trust your gut and go with that. So that you get the images you want that are brand consistent and you consistent in the long run.
Absolutely. When I got married, I was trying to kind of narrow in on color palette and that kind of thing. And you gave me some amazing advice. And I think this applies to a wedding. It applies to a brand. It applies to, because you can brand your business, you can brand a product. But you said, pick a theme and stick to the theme. So anything that does not fit that theme, don't jam it into your brand to make it fit. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, simple is better. Like I am guilty of being a bit of a minimalist. And I do understand we've got like the eclectic people that love all the things, and And so I just caution
That's you, the minimalist. I am the eclectic maximalist, love all the things.
So find the middle ground. You don't have to be so minimal it's cold and boring, you know. Put a little bit of you in, put a little bit of warmth in, a little bit of personality. I definitely have a love-hate relationship with social media and platforms like Pinterest. But in this case, I would say, you know, make a mood board. If you don't have that kind of stuff for your brand already, like go do that. And if it means like just finding pictures that evoke strong feeling in you, do that. And try to keep it simple. So like, you know, 2 colors, maybe 3 colors. Don't go too crazy on the colors. But yeah, just find your style. And I think Pinterest can be an excellent spot for that, is just like saving stuff. And in the beginning, just like save everything that pulls you and then weed it out and try to minimalize and get a cleaner color palette, a cleaner kind of visual palette, that kind of thing. Is really
I kind of have a theory on colors and brands, in that like everybody gets black and white. Those are gimmies, but to a maximum of 3 other colors is kind of what I stick to. I know we see these beautiful brand boards with like 5 colors plus black and white. And I'm like, you know what? That is so hard to use, because you end up settling on 2, maximum 3 colors anyway. And it just, I find, I totally agree with that. Simple is better. And yeah, and monochromatic, I'm really loving right now. This time I went with the pink, and I've kind of got a light pink and a dark pink, and that's it. And I'm really vibing with that. So, but I also, that kind of brings me to one of my other points, is you can never overdo the neutrals in a photo shoot. So in the thousands of pictures that Jen's taken of me, what kind of prompted urgently needing a brand photo shoot now was that I had no photos of neutrals. I had, you know, from past, I had great photos, but I incorporated my, whatever at that time was my brand color, or I used props and accessories that just weren't now and weren't good for what was going on. So when I went to try and put things on my website, or now I'm trying to kind of make some social media posts, I'm like, I can't use these. And AI hasn't got to the point of sophistication yet where it can like really nicely actually change colors of stuff, like shirts, for example. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm definitely preach the neutrals. Like find your neutral, whatever's best, whether it's a clean white or a creamy white or whatever, you know, do the work to find out what makes your complexion pop and makes you really come to life and look your best, and then stick to those. Like denim can be a neutral, whites can be a neutral, black, you know, those kind of things. But definitely stick to the neutrals. You can spice things up with the other stuff, right? Like the, you know, whatever your marketing stuff, it can be your brand colors added on and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And just try to be timeless. You know, I think it's hard because you want to seem relevant and up to date, but we also want to be able to use these photos for quite some time. You're going to invest a lot of time and money into them. So invest the time and money wisely. And instead of spending money on the props and all the gadgets and gizmos and all the things that you could be adding, invest the money in like your hair, your makeup, your great neutral kind of, you know, capsule wardrobe kind of stuff that you can use over and over.
I think props and neutrals. So one of the things that I said with props and neutrals is I think that is one of the things that AI is very capable and competent of adding into your photos and editing into your photos, rather than trying to change the core basics of what's going on with your outfit, with your posing, with your expression, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But
there's a couple photo shoots that we did where I was like, I was holding either a book or I had crystals for one of them. And I was like, this photo is perfect, except why am I holding that? Like, that's just not natural for me to be holding those things. So just be conscious of that. Because I think with a brand photo shoot, you have to get a lot done in a very quick amount of time. So you have to be conscious of, you know, how many outfits would you recommend for a brand photo shoot?
No more than 3. I think like one or two basic bottoms. So whether that's a skirt, a trouser, a skinny jean, a short, whatever, two bottoms, and then a couple tops maybe. I think layers are great. Whether it's like having a tank top on or like a base layer and layering, and then you can take them on and off easily. Having all those things, again, neutral, but also coordinating, I think is really important.
Yeah. So another thing that I've got on my list to talk about is practice. Practice with your makeup, practice with your hair, get somebody, a friend, a husband, or whatever, to take a few photos in the spots that you want, with the lighting, ideally if you can get the lighting, and just make sure that those outfits do picture at least as well as you think they are. Your photographer can make them like look really good, but you can get an idea for this green shirt is going to look terrible with its little V-neck, right? Like I'm specifically referencing a green shirt that I wore for a photo shoot anyway, but what I'm saying is you want to practice and get a couple photos so you can get a feel for, is this going to do the job that I think it's going to do?
Mm-hmm. For sure. Absolutely. And take them head to toe and take double check. And that's a good time to, again, I'm going back to the undergarments, but that's a good time to check does this show lines I don't want it to? Oh, do I need to put a little something underneath here? Or do I need just definitely know what you want to wear lots in advance, try them on. I have lots of people that actually go on shopping sprees and don't take the tags off. And so they buy them and they think, oh, I'm going to buy all these colors on brand, and they love them in the store, and they get home and they do just what we're talking about. They take some pictures and they trial them and they go, yeah, nope, we're returning this. So definitely plan, prepare, practice, take some photos, see how you look. Again, with your hair and your makeup, do that, trial it. Really, I want you to look like yourself. You want to look like yourself. You don't want people to not be able to recognize you from your brand photos. You want to look like yourself, but you want to look like the best version of yourself. You want to really highlight your strong points. And makeup can do that. Even for men, just giving them a little extra arch on their eyebrow or just a little bit of color on their cheek can go a really long way. And lots of men are like, oh my gosh, if you ever tell anyone that you just put concealer under my eye, I will deny it. And I was like, I'll deny, I can't tell anybody. This is our little secret. But
I think, trust your photographer, right?
Yeah, you gotta trust your photographer, because we are trying to make you look good. When we make you look good, we look good, right? So, just trust the photographer. If they say your lips need to be a little darker, this needs to pop a little bit more. It's important, because especially I have a theory that our eyes have to look trustworthy, especially when we're talking about brand and trust and relatability. If they're going to know, like, and love you and invest in whatever it is you're offering them, you need to have a connection, and we connect through eye contact. So you need to have an eye that is bright and clear and has an outline or a drawing to it. So that's like your mascara, your eyebrow, your whatever, even your, the color on your cheek, it all pulls to the eye, which is going to draw in people.
Okay. So on that same topic, you obviously have some tricks for getting people out of that frozen Chandler face or the deer in the headlights face. Do you want to talk a little bit about how to kind of get that smile and get that expression and get that trustworthy eye?
Right. So part of it is like we talked about before, finding the photographer that's got the personality for you and you guys connect and whatever, so they can capture you at the right moment, because that is the photographer's job, is to snap right at the right moment. But for you, it is just relax. Nobody likes to be in front of a camera. That's why I'm a photographer. I don't want to be in front of the camera. That's terrifying. I get the right. So I hear you. But your job in front of the camera is to breathe. Don't do the right. And the other one I always tell people is don't do this. We all pull away from the camera, and you really want to lean in. So that's what I would say. When you're feeling tense, take a deep breath out, because your shoulders will go from this to right? And everybody looks better when our neck is elongated, our head is up, our core is down. We want to pull away from the camera, like nobody wants to do this, but then we start to do this and we get the chins and we get all the things. So like lean into it, listen to the photographer. And you know, I always have people either like, I'll just be like, just laugh. Like you are doing this, like you're frozen, laugh, just let your jaw relax, do the like, ha, like, and we laugh a few times and then we start to laugh at ourselves because we're like, I sound so dumb. I just like, ha, ha, ha. And then we're like, and then, so the natural laugh comes, right? And that's what the photographer needs to capture. So they're really capturing your true essence, is that genuine laugh and that likability that you have to offer the world.
You know, some of my favorite shots are when I do this little like dance it off. Like I know that I've gotten in frozen and then I do this little like shaky dancey whatever. And you've captured a couple shots in there that I'm like, I can use that, you know, where I'm just like, you know, doing a little dance and, you know, like some of those moments are amazing. And some of the, like another thing is, you know what you want, but be flexible. Because some of the best shots that you've got, you're like, well, let's just give this a try and see how it works for you. Or this might be corny, but let's give it a try. Because especially in the digital world, like more is better, right? Because it gives us more to work with.
Absolutely. I love to like tell people like pretend the floor is lava, like that childhood game, like floor is lava, like, but do it. And like, it makes you bend your knees more. It makes you lift your body. It makes you like bend your joints. And you want to do that because you don't want to look stiff and rigid, because nobody likes and trusts a stiff, rigid person, right? So you want to like bend and come to life and look animated in your photos. So yeah, that like do the crazy dance, do the floor is lava, that kind of stuff will bring out the fun.
I love it. One of the things that we have some mutual friends, and one of the things you told her as women age about their hair getting higher to help elongate. I don't know exactly what that conversation was, but I feel like that's a good conversation to have right here. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think your hair can do a lot. You can like, you know, poof it up at the back and get a little bit more volume, or you can like pull it away from your face. You can bring it towards your face. You can really use your hair to accessorize and mold your look. And I think that's something you should try in the practice stages, is like, how do I want my hair? What's the best, you know, look for me that I want to project, that I feel confident in? I think with hair goes earrings. So earrings can be important too. They can like along your face. Like I've got these like smileys on today, which, you know, may not photograph well, but maybe they will. It depends on our brands, right? But absolutely. I think like what's going on around our face is really important, because in a photo, inches are miles in a photo, right? Like it takes up a lot of space. And so our hair has a lot of real estate value. So paying attention to how we style it so that we are, you know, so we look our best, just so we look our best, right? And so we articulate our best features and we expose our face, because there's a thing about beards, and I think it's outdated. I hope it's outdated at this point, because there's a lot of people out there sporting some pretty rockin' beards these days. But that like beards cover half your face, so people don't trust people with beards. And so it's the same with hair. If your hair is like all up in your face and you're like, you can look insecure and you can look like you're up to no good. And so making sure that you are doing what you should with your hair to project the image you want that's on brand is really important.
Absolutely. Any tips about the double chin?
The double chin. Yeah. So double chin, we all have them. Some of us have more than double. We have like triples and quadruples. And even the like people that don't have a double chin, when they are uptight and they're pulling away from the camera, everybody gets them. So my advice is take a big deep breath out, you know, really try to drop those shoulders. You can like wiggle your head back and forth, ear side to side, and then pretend like you have a string lifting up the back of your head, and tilt your chin a little bit down, which seems a little counterintuitive, but just that tiny tint down will help. And sometimes I say the giraffe neck. So when we push our shoulders back towards the wall and our head forward, we can like have that elongating kind of thing go on, so that we can minimalize any extra stuff that's going on in the turkey gobbler area of our body.
Yeah. And like everybody has areas of their body they want to hide. Like, you know what? Another one that maybe we can talk about is the belly. Any tips on, the belly? I just a little context in the photos that we did. I had a high waist pant and I tucked my shirt in. This is not something I would go in public to do, but it looked great in the photos. But it is because I'm self-conscious of that lower belly pooch area. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts are, first, select the wardrobe that you're comfortable in. You have to wear something you feel confident in, or you're not going to feel like yourself in the photos, and you're going to be trying to hide things. And when we try to hide things, we just look worse when we're like pulling and tugging and we're not ourselves and we're not able to relax. So first you have to like really select things you feel you look great in. And then after that, yeah, there's things we can do. Whatever your problem area is, if it's your belly at this point, pushing your weight backwards and leaning forward with your shoulders and chest, whatever's closest to the camera is going to look the biggest. So if your stomach's closest to the camera, your stomach is going to look quite large. But if you want to minimize that, you just pull it away from the camera as much as possible. Sucking in, terrible idea, because you're going to get your shoulders up, you're going to be holding your breath, you're going to be like, your complexion's going to be going,
your eyes are going to be suffocating.
Right? And you don't want to be like 50 shades of red and eyeballs popping out. You want to be relaxed. So leaning into the camera with your upper body is going to accentuate your upper body being smaller than your midsection. And yeah, leaning into tucking in your shirts, breaking up your body into thirds instead of halves can be much more slimming. It's going to accentuate a smaller part of your waist instead of maybe the lower part, which is bigger. And again, telling your photographer what your insecurities are so that they can minimize that. Your photographer might be like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? You're like 90 pounds soaking wet, as if you want to hide your stomach. But the reality of it is if that is your insecurity, then the photographer should be working to minimize your insecurity. Whether it's legit or not, it's going to have an impact on how you view those photos and how you are able to use those photos. So communicate it to the photographer and yeah, work together to strategize how to minimize that.
And on the other side, are there areas that you love and you want to highlight? So for example, me, I love my high cheekbones, and that's one of my features that I'm always trying to like accentuate in my facial, in my photos and everything. Really, I love that piece. So that's something I want. That's something I'll notice in my photos and be like, that's the photo. That really makes my face look how I expect my face to look.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I think I've got through all the things that I had on my list. Do you have any other kind of tips, tricks, anything that you wanted to say? Oh, actually, I think I see in our shared Google document to keep us on track here.
Yeah, keep me on track. I don't have it in front of me.
So how do you, so know what you're doing, why you're doing the shoot and who your audience is, and then know approximately how you want to use them. So you want to speak to that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. So what's really important to know when you book the shoot is, why are you booking it? What are you using these photos for? Is it for web? Is it for print media, if people still do that? Is it to decorate your brick and mortar? Is it to showcase your products? Is it for social media only? Like, what is it? And so once you know what it is, knowing a few of the things you specifically want to use it for. Is it for a banner? Is it for a square formatted Instagram? Is it for a pamphlet? Is it for a large piece of marketing material for like a trade show? Those kind of things are important to know before you go in and to communicate to the photographer, so that when they're shooting, they can add that margin in the photo to put text along the side or to put text beside, because then your photos are more usable. If you can communicate ahead of time what they're for, yep, you can use them for those specific things, but you can use them in other ways in the future as well if you have that negative space. So I think if your photographer is not used to doing brand work, it's important to communicate like, hey, when you take these pictures, can you take them landscape? Can you take them portrait? Because I need them for X or Y. And when you take them,
that's one thing that I've noticed. I've noticed we've evolved. as we've been doing these, to make sure that we have a couple of those where like you're way off to the right or you're way off to the left. Because even though we can crop and edit and move things around and do things with Canva that we've never ever been able to do before, you still need some of those photos where you're way on the right and way on the left. Some other good ones are photos of you pointing at things, where you can remove the background and then have it point to a button on a website or a landing page. What about some of those things? The pointing photos are the ones that's coming to mind, but I know there's a few others that, are kind of non-negotiables for a brand so that you can use them on website, social, all the places.
Yeah, definitely. So the like facing forward, the like looking off to the side, the the side so that you're looking at something, those kind of things I think are important. You also need a few where it's just like an up close and personal like headshot, like head and shoulders classic headshot type thing. Some far away. So I think somewhere there's more landscape than there is you. Is important too, so that you can use it on your website and you can put text box over it or that kind of thing. I think it's really important. And product shots, like I think that's important too, is if you have a product you're offering, maybe don't hold them, right? Like Carmen said, the crystals before and that kind of stuff make it outdated. But what you can do is when you have that photographer, make sure you're utilizing your time well. And about that. So make sure you're utilizing your time well and take some product shots that you can add in those more neutral images. You can add them different places on your marketing material or your website or your Instagram or whatever. Instead of like cluttering up your portraits with them, have them off to the side. But definitely make sure that you have those type of things ready to be photographed and direction on how you want them to be photographed.
Yeah, absolutely. What about things like the live photos or the moving photos or little clips of video? This may depend on the package that you have with the photographer as well, but you want to speak a little bit to some of that B-roll sort of situation?
Yeah, definitely. If you have a photographer that's willing to do that stuff, do it. Because you can always take stills from it. You can use that stuff for your, socials and all that kind of stuff. And it does bring an element of movement and life and interest into it. It gives people a bit more of a chance to really get to know you and like you, and they see you come to life. And I think that's important. You're not just a still image. You're not like a stock photo. It gives them a chance to see the way you move, the tone of your voice, the way you laugh, those kind of things. It just gives them more to connect with. So definitely high value.
One of my favorites, we were doing a family shoot and we had the pets, and the photo was Rocky jumping out of our arms and running off. It's not our current Rocky's now left us, but it was such a cool like still photo of like we caught this and he's going, and it was kind of a really cute. I wish I could have figured out how to use it, but anyway. Okay, so we talked about mood boards. We talked about preparation, relax and have fun. Okay, so I think the only thing we haven't really talked about is being open to feedback and listening to photographers' suggestions and just try different angles. I think that's the only thing on our list.
Yeah, for sure. You get your pictures taken, it's awkward. You're gonna like tense up. It's hard because you can't see the photos, and we're so used to seeing ourselves. We all have those like forward-facing cameras on our cell phones, right? We're used to the instant feedback, and so when you're working with a photographer, you don't get to instantly see what you look like, but you just need to trust, right? Like you have hired them, you've got this far in the process, you've done your research, you love the work they put out, and that's why you've hired them. So now you just have to trust that they're going to make you look as great as they've made everybody else look, and you're going to love the images just as much as you've loved all the other ones you've seen. So when they tell you like push your butt backwards and lean into the camera and like do this and do that, you just kind of have to like be like, okay. And even though you might feel skeptical, it's really important not to be like, are you for real right now, and get that skeptical look on your face, because we're not fairy godmothers. We can make you look really great, but if you look like you don't trust us, then you're going to look like skeptical in your pictures. And that's what you don't want. You want to look relaxed. You want to look happy. You want to look like yourself. So just really lean into like trusting and believing that the photographer has your best interest in heart. And with the posing, they're going to direct you. You do not have to worry about posing yourself. And sometimes there's one in every crowd, the person that has their pose, and they like, a camera pops up and they like put their hand on their hip and they like flash this fake smile and their eyebrows go way up and you're like, holy shit, like you look awful, right? And so a good photographer will coach that out of a person, like, hey, just relax, let your arms slide down, put your thumb in your pocket, like just breathe, just laugh, right? And they'll try to coax that like frozen photo ready, thing that people do and they think they look good, but they really do not look good. So yeah, just trust, try to be flexible, try some new things out. If you've always hated photos of yourself, just, don't do the same thing over and over. Listen to feedback, be open to change things. You might love it, you might hate it. But the nice thing is you're the only one that's going to see these photos. You're in control of them. So if you hate it, just don't show people that crap. And then the stuff that looks great, then you use that, right? There's really no danger in just trusting and believing and leaning into it. And if you're really nervous, ask the photographer to see some of the images, right? We live in a digital world. It's not film anymore like it was when I started out. Ask the photographer like, hey, I'm really feeling uncomfortable. I just need a little bit of, reassurance that I don't look like I think I look, because I think I look awful. I feel like this doesn't look like me. Can I just have a peek and let that build your confidence and just stay in communication with your photographer, because that's how you're going to get the outcome you want.
Awesome. I kind of have this theory of working with all professionals, whether it's a haircut, a photographer, someone who knows more than I do about their field and their skill, is like, I can give you the general idea of what I want, but like let's take a haircut. They know how to make my fine hair do what it's supposed to do to get the effect. So like, I kind of have this, I guess, to sum up my theory is, don't tell a professional how to do their job as well, which, and sometimes that can be hard because you're like, I need this and I need this and I need this. And we can't forget that one for the website. And we can, and sometimes you want that one for the website and that one it's not usable. It's not the one that you need. So you sometimes have to kind of work with the photographer's strengths as well. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let the photographer do their thing and communicate to the photographer what you want done. So when you're like, I want this one for the website, the photographer will take it. But then when the photographer says, hey, can we try this? You need to be equally as ready to try that thing. Even though it's not on your agenda, they have a reason for bringing it to your attention and putting it on the agenda. So I just would say, be flexible, stay open to ideas, communicate. Don't be afraid to ask for something. They might be like, yeah, we can do that, but you're going to hate it. Or they might just say straight up no, because they realize it's awful. But again, I think a good photographer, a good match for you, you guys are going to have that comfortable back and forth communication. So don't be afraid to ask for things that you want. Don't be afraid to, present them with a list or do that kind of stuff. Trust is great.
And time management,
have a trusting relationship. But
and time management in your session is also something that can be kind of stressful as like from my perspective, right? Because like sometimes you're like tick tick tick, you're like, I know I have this much time, and like that can be stressful, and that can kind of wreck your like flow if you're not relaxed in that. So I think you have to have a bit of a strategy session with your photographer at the beginning to kind of make sure that you aren't getting caught in that little like stress over time. Have you noticed that before, or is that just me?
No, absolutely. I think it's important to pre-plan, to communicate, so you're utilizing your time well and you're being effective and efficient with the amount of time you have. I think a lot of people advertise these like 20-minute headshot sessions. They're 20-minute headshots because you're going to walk away with 1 to 3 good headshots. That is not a branding shoot. A branding shoot, you're looking at 1 to 3 hours. I would say anything after 3 hours, you're going to start to look tired and haggard, because after 3 hours, like, that's a lot of time to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look tired in your photos. So I would say 3 hours is probably your max. You're not going to look fresh. You're not going to, like, no matter what you do to touch up your makeup and your hair and your whatever, you're not going to feel fresh. You're going to feel done. 3 hours is a long time. But definitely plan ahead. Make sure you're doing the right package for the branding photos, so that you don't feel too stressed. And make sure that you've communicated with your photographer, like, this is what I want. Hopefully the photographer will be like, okay, well then this is what we're going to do, and kind of give you an outline of what they see happening in the time you have allotted. If they don't do that, maybe you can prompt that kind of thing. But I think knowing what you're going to do in the time you have is important, because you do not want to be anxious. You don't want to be stressed. You don't want to, because that's going to show up on the camera. You want to be relaxed.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that we didn't really touch on is like the background scenes, like where you're taking these photos. Thoughts on how to source them, how to, like, because, you know, your photographer may or may not have places that they'll take you to do them. Like how, just, you know, talk about that.
Talk about that. Location's important. I don't think it's as important as sometimes we make it in our mind. So some people go as far as to, like, rent an Airbnb that's nice and bright and it matches their brand. I'm not going to say don't do that. If that is in your budget, like, go to it. It's a great excuse to, like, get a weekend away. You can use that Airbnb for other things, whatever. Some people love to use their home because it's showing personality points, that kind of stuff. I would just caution, if you're using your home, you do have to really pare down things. You have to minimize things, because the clutter, the wires, the, like, reality of our lives, they're not edited, is that it can get busy and it can get distracting. And what you want is to be able to show you. You want to showcase you, because you are part of your brand. You are your brand, right? So that can be an option. I think, you know, whether you go to a studio, whether you do it outside, it's really up to you. It's really what aligns with your brand and your messaging and that kind of thing. If you want to incorporate water or woods or nature or urban or that kind of thing is important. I think when I'm talking about that stuff, I would just caution you to be aware of how you feel with an audience. If you're someone that, like, comes to life with an audience and you love it, then, like, who cares? Go downtown, do a big urban setting and, like, put on a show for people. Great. It's going to bring you into who you truly are. If you are someone who's feeling a little bit insecure about it, don't take pictures on a main road. Don't take pictures in a huge public place. Tuck yourself away. Be kind to yourself, and really consider, like, what setting you're in and how that's going to affect you and your mood and your sense of, you know, esteem and confidence as you're behind the lens of a camera.
Right. So if you are in a position as a client and having to source out a couple different locations, are there some neutral locations? So for example, brick walls, we've always found really good. Doorways, we found, you know, that kind of thing. And like, with also the kind of thing in mind of traveling between locations does take time, and it takes that time out of your photo shoot. So you want to be efficient with the location of them, but there's probably in your little area, you know, like we just took pictures against the brick wall of our house and they looked fantastic. So you want to talk a little bit about to some common places that you might not be thinking of that are great locations for photos and backgrounds and neutral backgrounds. So
yeah, I always say, like, a fence is great, or something that is, like, about 3/4 of your height, something about half your height. So you can sit on something, so you can rest your elbow on something, whether that's a pillar at the front of your house or a fence or a bench, that kind of thing. Something that gives you some elevation, for the photographer to go above. So, you know, whether that's a staircase or a hill, like a natural elevation in the landscape is important. Something with a wall. So something, or a straight repeating visual. So like a line of trees or something like that can be really helpful. Just like a nice consistent background. So like a brick wall or trees, or a road can be simple. A road with trees on either side, that kind of thing. Just something that's going to give you elevation options, so that it's not boring. You've got some angles and you've got some visual interest, but not so much visual interest that it's distracting from you as the subject.
Absolutely. Okay. I think that is good. I'm satisfied with that conversation.
Awesome.
Do you have any other little bits and tips and tricks to add?
I would just say make sure when you're selecting your photographer that they know you. Like, that is important. Relationship is the most important thing with your photographer, maybe even more than photo skills. So if it is not in your budget to have a professional photographer, get a friend you're comfortable with to do it with their iPhone, please. They have the best cameras. But whichever.
No endorsement here.
But like, get somebody, cell phones are amazing these days. Get somebody that you know and knows you and get comfortable. Use the tips we've given you. I think if the person behind the camera has an idea of who you are and you are at ease with them, you're going to get the best photos. So selecting the photographer, even if it's not a professional, is the most important thing.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenn. We really appreciated this conversation. And do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing now and how people can get a hold of you and get in contact with you?
Sure. So I have transitioned. When I went to school for not photography, what I went for is an undergrad in counseling and youth work, and I became a photographer. Did that for years, but always dabbled in social work. And so over the years, I just kept re-educating, and I am a play therapist that specializes in working exclusively with children and parents. I go under playful therapist or no, it's not playful. I am the playful therapist. My website is playfultherapy.ca. And so I just hang out with children and parents and just kind of collaborate on how to make it a good experience for both the kids and the parents, and really give people an opportunity to see each other and validate each other and connect well.
Amazing. So some other time, maybe we'll have a conversation about, we could have hundreds of business conversations, from pivoting to,
we do
all the time. Like, we're both serial entrepreneurs. Like, we both have gone through this, like, cutting our teeth on entrepreneurship. So we have so many conversations we can have. So maybe some other time we'll have you back on and we'll talk about, something else that is relevant in the moment. But thank you so much for joining us. And we will see everybody on the podcast again. Hey, VIP day sessions are available now. If you're looking to get help in your business right now with one-to-one support, looking at your design and how it works with your business, this is the session for you. Click the link below and book now.